Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Powerless Podcast. In this episode, I talk to Sky, Sean, and Prince of the new pop band Cheem out of New England area. We talk about their upcoming EP that'll be out the same day that this is released, which is Faster Fashion. Absolutely fantastic EP. I was really fortunate for them to send it over to me ahead of time. Shout out to Abby that put this all together. And made sure I had the EP ahead of time and things of that nature so we could really break it down. We talk about each one of the songs lyrically. We talk about why they have this EP along with Fast Fashion out. And within the 2024 calendar year, what's going forward next for the band. Of course, there's the New Metal Agenda presents Rockstar Energy Tour with Cheem, and as well as former guest Pulses with Sales Ahead, along with Nightlife, that you should definitely check out. That is starting in December, so next month. We talk about that. We talk about kind of the influences for the band, what their favorite parts are, what their roles are within the band between Prince, Sean, and Sky, and overall, it's just a really fantastic conversation. This band is one of my favorite bands I've gotten into over the last couple of years. I know I say that pretty frequently on the show, but that's because I've been fortunate enough to talk to a lot of fantastic up-and-coming bands. Cheem is one of them. I think this band is going to become a lot more popular very quickly. Maybe this EP will be the thing that gets them over to like the next level as far as popularity goes and listeners and things of that nature. But regardless, really great conversation, really great EP. And Sky, Prince, and Sean were really insightful with their thoughts on their music and the direction of the band and things of that nature. So again, thanks to Cheem for coming on, and I really hope you all enjoyed the episode. Before we get into it, as a reminder, you can find the podcast on all social platforms at the Powerless Pod, on Blue Sky, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. I have a Facebook, but I don't remember the last time I looked at it. But you can find me in all those places with that handle. You can email me at thepowerlesspod@gmail.com. All that stuff will be in the notes below, as well as all of Cheem's contact information, which I do not have memorized, but I believe it's Cheem_SZN, at least on Twitter. But you'll see all that in the notes below, along with a link to the full EP and a few other things from Cheem's end. So without further ado, here's my conversation about Faster Fashion and Cheem with Sky, Prince, and Sean on the Powerless Podcast. Thanks. All right. I am here for the next episode of the Powerless Podcast with new pop genre blending band Cheem out of New England. I'm with Sky and Sean. I know I said this before recording. I do this every time, but thanks so much for coming on and taking time out of your, I'm sure, pretty busy schedule with the rollout and everything in between to talk to me today. How are you both doing?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having us. Actually, taking a break from working on new stuff right now to do the podcast. So yeah, we're excited for the future of Cheem.
Is that do you mean new stuff? So I know how this goes for sure, but so are you guys already working on new music for after the second EP that you're releasing within a year's time? You're already on the ground for the next stuff. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, you gotta stay ahead of the game. It's everybody wants things so far in advance that
Yeah.
I'm so deep into it that I have to like relearn the songs from the EP that's coming out in a couple of weeks.
That's so true though, right? Because like so many, like, you know, I'm not in, I've never been in a band that's like gotten to the extent that you all are, but I know even from like no matter what kind of level you're at in a band, if you want to keep going with it, you're pretty much nonstop writing to the point that like by the time a release comes out, not that you're sick of it, but if you're not playing the songs routinely, like you said, it's like old news for you when it's new for everybody else, right? Yeah, that too. I recently started doing the attempting, I should say, doing the vocal editing for the music project that I do. And it's like, yeah, that makes you really, even if you like what you wrote, it really makes you hate yourself about halfway through.
The tedium and the just like it's like, oh man, does this even like sound normal anymore? Like,
Yeah, and like I even kind of cheat. I use vocal lines, so like I even have assistants, and even then, it's like I just get it over with out of the next one. I'm over it. You know what I mean? It's definitely how it goes. I guess I should have before we keep going, just in case there's some first time listeners or listeners of the band that aren't overly familiar with the members. I'll start with Sky and then Sean. Just tell the listeners what your role or what you do in the band.
okay, I'm Sky. I am a vocalist and guitarist in the band. Like I sing, I rap, and I do like record scratches on the tracks. I don't do it live. We just put in the tracks live. But yeah, that's my role.
Very cool.
And I'm Sean, and I play the drums. I'm also the one probably answering your DMs on Instagram too.
Nice. Doing some of the social media role that everybody loves to do when they're in a band. Absolutely.
We split it up. We kind of split it up, but
yeah, it's like a platform that they have to handle.
Yeah.
That's great. That's good until you've got like like some super fans that like notice the complete tonal change from one platform to the other, right? Then the jig is up. But
well, all of our super fans are in our Discord, so I think they know.
Yeah, they know.
Oh yeah, of course. What am I talking about? That's what that's for. That's the good way to go. Well, before we get into the new EP, Faster Fashion, which is a 6-track EP that clocks in, I think, at about 13 minutes. So having 6 tracks within a 13-minute time, I know you all are really great at writing, I think, very interesting shorter tracks. I think it's I at least noticed it the most on this newest EP, and then we'll get into kind of a track by track or kind of what the writing process was and all that. But like what I've noticed in general with this EP and the last one, Fast Fashion, is that you're all really able to blend a lot of different sounds, have really cool transitions, which I think is like one of the I guess like unsung heroes of good music is like when there's really cool sort of transitions, whether it's a interesting drum fill Sean does or just kind of a cool change up in a way that flows really well. That makes like a, I think Wake the Fuck Up is like what, 1 minute and 36 seconds, and yet it feels as fully fleshed out as like a as like a pop rock song would, a typical 3-4 minute pop rock or rock song would be, which is a really cool feat that you've really gotten down, I think, on these last 2 EPs. But before I continue to gas you guys up for about 45 minutes or so here, what with these 2 EPs, putting them out within a year, I think the first one I want to double check because my brain's awful, but yeah. So you had 5 tracks on Fast Fashion, 6 on Faster Fashion. You're really releasing an album's worth of material in 2 different sections. With the titles being so similar, and the kind of vibe between both of them having a lot of similarities, is there a direct connection here with them? Were you sort of planning with them being sort of like this, sort of like A and B side thing with 2 separate EPs, or is that just sort of what worked out for you and you have very similar title? I guess, is there a big connection between the 2, or is it just that it kind of worked out with the titles and sort of like the marketing aspect of it for them to look so similar aesthetically?
The second EP wasn't actually planned until like really like a kind of late in the process. So the first one, the idea was sort of, it was almost like a sampler of like Cheem stuff. It's like, here's some not super long tracks that showcase like 5 very different aspects of like the sound that we go for, but they all kind of still fall under the Cheem umbrella. And then essentially, how this happened was the song Faster Fashion I had written exclusively for a compilation record that ended up falling through, so we just kind of had it. And I thought it was like a throwaway song, and I showed it to Sam, and Sam's like, that is a very good song. I don't know what you're talking about. You're stupid. And I'm like, all right. And then Sam wanted to play an EP around it, and I just happened to have some other songs laying around that were also just similar vibes, where it's like, it's just taking some new avenue with the Cheem sound, like some new inspiration or genre, and just applying the Cheem tactics to it. And so we ended up with 6 of those, and we were like, wouldn't it be funny if we just named the EP Faster Fashion? Because I already wanted to name the song Faster Fashion. I was like, that'll be funny. It'll be a cool little callback. And it's like, well, then if we're going to do an EP, that has to be the name of it. And then at that point, it was like, all right, well, now we just got to really play into it. And then we make the cover the same. We do the photo shoot the same way,
So that kind of works out, though, because, then some dumbass like me is like, oh, they're really intricate. They had this whole thing planned out, but really just kind of fell into your lap that way. And it still works out with the marketing and all that. So that's good.
I remember a time that our idea for the EP was even more ambitious, and we were going to have like once every quarter we were going to update the EP with like new
Yeah.
songs and have it be like different like seasons.
Oh, okay.
Like a
But
catalog
I think
fashion
I think that idea just kind of fell by the wayside, but this like dual EP is like a nice byproduct of that, a more realistic one.
Yeah, it's like a revisitation.
Yeah.
Of the same thing.
Yeah. I remember it's like one of those things whenever somebody talks about doing some big project like that, I think of like I think it was right before COVID hit. Bring Me the Horizon put out an EP, and they were like, "That's a first in the semblance of 4 EPs we're going to put out within the next year," and none of it happened.
Yeah,
So,
part of that might have been COVID, but you gotta have
Oops.
your scope on these things sometimes.
Yeah, right. But I just like, it's good to go with the realistic, fun path as well. Even though like a seasonal thing would have been absolutely absurd and really cool. But no, that's cool that you're able to kind of still interwoven I can't think of words. It's late for me. My brain's fried. Interweave something words, yeah, things. That both of them together, despite it not being like thought through that way initially when the first one came out. But in a sense they are very similar, and like you said, typically shorter songs. I think between the two of them, the longest song, I'll double check here, is maybe 3 minutes and like 20 seconds. So yeah, like you said, shorter songs that really showcase all the different sides of Cheem. Before we get into kind of doing like a track by track with you guys, just in general for like the songwriting process for you, it sounds like from what Sky had said, and Sean, you as well, that you're all very involved in kind of doing this in like a DIY way of at least producing the records and music. So what is sort of like the songwriting process for the band like? Is it one of you, Sky, you said you play guitar notoriously. That tends to be a guitar player sitting down with the DAW and then telling everybody else what to do afterwards. Is it a more collaborative effort? Just kind of walk me through what the songwriting process is like for the band, or if it's just kind of a hodgepodge of everybody coming in with different things.
Yeah. No, I do. The songs have become a lot more intricate production wise. So a lot of the auxiliary stuff happens on the front end when I'm doing the demos. And because of that, I have, I kind of just try to flesh out the demo as much as possible before I bring it to the band, so that there's like some semblance of like what the bass and drum parts are going to do. And then I'll either write all of the melodies and lyrics, or if I'm kind of stumped on a melody, I'll just send the instrumental to Sam and he'll get me some melodies back. And then I workshop some lyrics to that. And then once it gets brought to the band, everybody gets their parts and goes like, well, I'm going to do this. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, you're going to put your own spin on it. That's cool. As long as it's serving the song. I think everybody in the band there's an understanding that everything we're doing is to serve the song. We're not like, nobody's showing off necessarily. So anything that like Prince or Sean do with the rhythm section stuff, I know is going to be like the best for the track. And then our guitar player, Gabe, he's an engineer. So he'll like engineer everything, mix everything. We'll all send him stems and stuff, or he'll be like monitoring the session. We go record drums and bass, and then he does that. We send it off to Chris Crummett for mastering, and that's the process from start to finish.
Very cool. So, sorry, Sean, did you have anything else to add with that? I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was gonna say I saved my sickest fills for playing live. Yeah, not to say that the ones that I recorded aren't sick, but what Sky said about serving the song, I think, means a lot to all of us in the band who kind of build off the skeleton that Sky creates. Like, he writes with like a certain groove in mind for a reason, and trying to like fit my voice into that. And like, I have more of like a metal background, I guess, than most of the members of the band. I mean, everybody in the band enjoys metal, and I probably enjoy it the most though. And so I always try to inject maybe a little bit of that into Cheem songs. But Sky, when he writes, he also plays into that a little bit. So, at this point in the band, and I say this a lot when we're asked about this, it's like Sky is able to write for the other members of the band, and in his head he's like, oh, I could hear Sean playing this, or I could hear Prince playing this, and then it's up to us to like, interpret that from our own perspective. So I'm currently in the process of that right now, and it's really fun.
Yeah, I think our musical vocabulary, we just end up sharing it. Like it plays into each other's things. Like, like there'll be something that Prince plays, and I'm like, oh shit, that's a great like approach to like doing fills or like a bass line or something. And then I'll keep that in mind when I'm putting in like a placeholder bass part. And then if he likes it, he likes it. If not, he'll do something even better. It's the same with the drums.
One thing I'll say that actually, this is kind of just dawning on me right now, and I don't think I've said this in any other interview that I've given about the EP, is that I didn't have access to a drum set for much of the writing, like leading up to the recording of this EP. Like I was like living in an apartment and couldn't play drums. I had a practice pad. So I had to kind of map them out on a kit like days before we went into the studio, like the night before essentially. Um and luckily I can function like that, and they came out great. And I was able to play them, but for what we're like working on now, I actually have access to a kit that I can play like 24/7 essentially. uh and it's allowing me to like develop the songs a lot more deliberately, whereas fast fashion and faster fashion, like they came together like that, you know.
Well, they were like
Like
fast.
really 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 fast, like literally faster fashion. Like we got home from touring with Jer and Insignificant Other in May, and we were in the studio like that week, right?
Wow.
Yeah, it was like
I
immediately.
think that was the most rock star I've ever felt. Just like, oh, straight off the tour right into the studio. Like, yeah, this is definitely my full-time job.
just living the dream of back pain from the van to back pain of being in a studio for 13 hours writing a song or whatever.
That's
Right?
funny.
Yeah,
you
I got like I had one of the worst back injuries of my life on the Jared tour. Like it happened like the first night. I don't know what it was. I'm good now, but like every show on that tour, like I don't know if people could tell, but I was in the worst back pain I've ever felt. Just like stretching
and it's also
every set to be
it's
like,
it's
oh.
it's also funny you say that because I just recovered from 3 weeks of like excruciating back pain. And I'm now able to function back at 100%. So yeah, we love being in our upper 20s.
touring. No, yeah. Well, I'm 32, and just waking up in my bed, my back hurts. So I totally I don't share the pain of being on tour or having an actual injury, but I do share the pain of like groaning and wishing I was dead from
Ugh.
from from back pain. But I digress about being an old man. I guess one thing I was going to ask you, Sean, before I, as usual, go off on my ADHD tirades,
Me.
is you said that with faster fashion, that as the name also goes along well with it, that you really had to grind to get those done, and kind of the pressure was on with not having a kit, a whole lot of time leading up to it, but and then these other ones you're able to flesh out more. Do you find that you oh, looks like Prince is jumping in here now as
No
well.
way.
Oh,
But hi Prince, how you doing? Uh do
Hi,
you
Prince.
do you
We're having
find
so much fun.
that 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 you like one more than the other? I'm personally someone that's like a big planner, so like when I have to like grind to get something done quick, it gives me like, it works out well, the product is really good, but you like hate the entire process of it. So is there one that you enjoy more doing when it comes to songwriting? Like, or one that kind of feels like it's worked out more in your favor in the past, either way?
I will say that the last time I was able, so I'm gonna correct the record really quick. I did have access to a kit for like maybe like a month before Faster Fashion came out. So I was able to develop those a little bit more, but the last time I was able to like really really flesh out a recording was our last album, Guilty Pleasure, which came out in 2022. I was like still living at my parents' house when those songs were first being formed, which was pre-pandemic. Um, I was able to like sit with those songs a lot more, and because of the pandemic, like they just had a lot more time to marinate. And my creative process really, really comes from repetition, and I can do the exact same thing for an hour a day and feel so creatively satisfied. Like I'm not really a guy who like throws stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Like I want to just like iterate on the same exact thing every day. So that outlet is Cheem, and when I have these songs so far in advance, I like literally like every single day for the past month I have just sat with these songs that we're working on and just played them once a day. And over the course of that time period, like they shift and change, and like new things start to show up, and I'm like, ooh, that would be cool if I did that there. So with Guilty Pleasure, at least I had like years, I think, like at least like a year or two maybe before we went into the studio and I recorded the drums.
yeah, that makes sense. I think I mean like a song like Emerge on Guilty Pleasure, that like we started the first time we ever jammed on that was like 2017. So like yeah, you that's yeah, we had some time on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I had at least like 2 years to develop that song. And yeah, that's kind of just what I'm in the process of right now. Whereas, like, you know, with the two EPs, like, they came together really quickly, and that's not to say we're like super proud of them. And the songs that have come out of them are absolute bangers, and we love playing them live. But yeah, I think that those two EPs are kind of just a response to the, you know, the shift in the music industry where things just so much is happening all the time, and there's like so much pressure to put stuff out. We're like, okay, we'll play that game. We can play that game. So we did.
Yeah, and our record's like 2 years old, and it's like this is old news now. Like it's been 2 years, and it's like this shit is fucking, you know, this might as well have come out in the fucking '90s.
Yeah,
People are still discovering it, though. I will say.
Well, yeah, that's a good thing though, and that kind of shows to all of you that like the songwriting is really solid, because to me that's what, like, that's how you can really tell when somebody, not to say that other people's it doesn't get picked up later can't be incredible music, but it really helps if somebody can find like an, when you say put out faster fashion or fast fashion, somebody can go back to your previous album and they might find out that that's got their favorite song on it, even though they really like the EPs, because all of the music you've released is really high quality, right? So like that's helpful for just like a long-standing career, even with all the, you know, the content churning of modern music. If the songs aren't good, no one's going to give a fuck about it like a couple of months later, right? Where I don't think that's the case with you all at all. And it just kind of again goes back to with all the bullshit that can be modern, like the modern music era of just like having to post reels 5 times a day or whatever people do to promote music, that like at the end of the day, if you're doing all the marketing you need to but the songs aren't good, it's not going to fucking matter, right? Prince, since you came in a little bit later, I asked Sean and Sky this already, so I guess I'll ask you as well. With this newest EP, and fast fashion as well, since it's, you know, all this music's come out this year, you know, what, or I guess specifically for the newest one coming out on the 15th of this month, what was the songwriting process like for you? What were some of the takeaways you had from it? What were things that were maybe different this time around as compared to some of your previous releases? Just kind of speak to in general before we kind of break it down, what your feelings were on the writing process, recording process, whatever the case may be.
This one was pretty fun. A lot of the songs off of this EP coming, I've heard before, like in the past, floating around, like Sky threw it around, like in our group chat or something, like just a demo. Um, Particularly one in mind with some really cool slap bass stuff. And I remember recently texting Sky about that lick. I was like, "Yo, this lick is like really sick. This is like something I would play, like, you know, kind of like my style." And then Sky was like, "Yeah, that's sick, but like that was written before you were even in the band, like like back in like I joined in like 2019. I think you were saying it was like 2017 or something like that, or something
Yeah,
earlier."
that's something like that. Either 2017, 2018.
Yeah, so I had a little time to like marinate on some of these songs. Not saying that I don't have any time on the other songs, but it was a little bit of a shorter process for me. I got to really dive in with Gabe, who mixes our stuff, and we just sat down. I just listened to the isolated like bass track for like a good 30 minutes before I like actually came up with something I wanted to write. But I didn't have like too much time to like lock in. But by the time I was there recording, I was like, okay, I'm feeling like a lot of good things, and like all those slap bass licks kind of just transferred into my brain. I was just like, ah, okay. I already know what to do now. So like I think this is just like a spur of the moment thing for me, and it just felt really good. And I'm really proud of like every single song coming out. Even some of there's a lot of like synthy bass stuff alongside of with like the actual bass, which is some of the my favorite stuff ever, like my personal listening music, my personal taste. So I'm really excited to yeah, roll this out pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I was gonna say to, I guess, with all three of you, because Sky, I have the brain of a newt, but you said you play you write the songs primarily on guitar to kind of with the initial demos and all those things. That's kind of what you said you do with the skeletons of the songs at the very least, or more fleshed out things. So all three of you have a big role instrumentally for the band and kind of forming a lot of the music. One thing that I have to say with your band specifically across all the releases, but especially with Fast Fashion and Faster Fashion, is the rhythm section, I think, really outshines a lot of other bands in the sort of, and I'm not shitting on any bands by any means either. I think there's a lot of great bands, and a lot of them we'll get into you're touring with in December. But your guys' rhythm section, I think, adds a lot of character and a lot of space for both the guitar and the vocals, which when you have, as eclectic of vocals as you all do, it really helps to have this sort of rhythm section that coalesces in, a lot of different genre blending. I think it's really cool how much of the music, despite you having really cool guitar parts and some really cool lead bits and a lot of very like all over the place in a good way hooks and all those different things, that the rhythm section alone on its own is like a huge highlight for the music and really adds a lot to it. So that's again just me kind of gassing you guys up that that's something that I really enjoy, especially coming up from primarily playing like sort of new metalcore music, where like there was an era where nobody was paying attention, at least like the bigger bands, nobody was paying attention to the bass and the drums being in pocket. It was all just double bass and the bass following like the guitar riff an octave lower, and that was that. It's really refreshing to see people in the scene more and more kind of bringing in this sort of like pocket rhythm that I just like. I don't know, I think it adds a lot of originality and character to your music, especially on this upcoming EP. So kudos to you guys. If you guys don't mind, then we'll just kind of go track by track on this. Again, 6 songs on the new EP that'll be out on the 15th, Faster Fashion. Abby was nice enough to send it over to me ahead of time, so I was able to listen through it several times before doing this. I know it comes to no surprise after me saying all these things ahead of time, but not a bad song on the record. It'd be weird if I said that, I guess, in an interview anyway, but genuinely that's the case.
There is one song like I said, fucking hate, but
yeah. This one was just stupid. Take it out. No, but as I mentioned earlier to Sky and Sean, I really think you all do a really good job, especially on this EP and the last one, of having these shorter songs that feel very fleshed out, that have a lot of cool transitions, still has room for cool instrumentals. Nothing feels rushed or missing. I don't know, just like a really, really cool, interesting endeavor for the band over the last year with both of these EPs. But we'll kind of go through track by track. And I guess before I get into that, when it comes to the lyrics for your band, is that something that Sam primarily does? Sky, do you have a hand in that, since you're also a lyricist? Is that something the band, or I mean, a vocalist?
I write all the lyrics.
Okay, you write all the lyrics. Okay, I just asked before I asked you guys about the lyrics, and you're like, oh, none of us have anything to do with that. Sorry. But we'll go through, start with the first track, WTFU, Wake the Fuck Up, which is one of the singles you put out. Clocks in under 2 minutes, like I said earlier, but still has some really cool instrumental parts, very catchy hooks hook in it, really cool delivery all in all. So just kind of speak to me a little bit about, I don't know, each one of you could say what you enjoy about the song, and then Sky, I can ask you kind of what it's about lyrically, if there's anything you want to say on that topic.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, this song compositionally, like, our guitar player Gabe had been trying to make like he showed me like a beat he was trying to make that sampled that same like truck driver video of like him going like wake the fuck up and hitting the horn. I was like, that's cool, but like I don't think he ever did anything with it. I'm like, I bet I could do that in like a song. And I had these like 3 drum beats, and it was just like in like a GarageBand folder called like Travis Barker beats or something like that, and they were all the same tempo. And I was like, dude, we need like a cool like intro track, like, like just something that like just like kicks off like the EP. The riff, the main riff in this song, and the main riff also in Faster Fashion, use the same exact technique of just like, kind of like how you said before, like bands used to have like the bass follow the guitar. There's almost like just writing a bass line and having the guitar follow that exactly. It's like single notes, throw the octave pedal on. It's like a 311 classic technique, and it just makes for like really nice, like chunky, heavy sounding riffs where you can do. It's basically just like a bass line feature.
Very cool. Yeah, I liked the sample. I didn't actually know what that was from, but I just found it really funny to sort of kick off a song that way after the little build up. That was cool. I guess now we'll go, Sean. If there's,
Yeah.
what were your thoughts on this song? Anything that you can speak to about it?
Sure. Oh my God, you're right about how like it just packs so many different punches in such a short time frame. Like the whole song feels so frantic, and I like in particular how the verse is just like, oh my God, I love playing that groove so much. It almost feels like it's gonna fall apart at any moment, which is like the best part about it. Even when I'm playing live, I'm like, holy shit, like we're actually playing this right now.
And we open
Like
with
it feels like
it's
gonna fall apart. But yeah, we're locked the fuck in. And yeah, like you don't know what the song is building to, and then it just hits that drum fill towards the end, the boom, boom, and the fucking breakdown comes in. Very, very, very satisfying for me as a drummer to kind of hold back my energy throughout the song and keep it within a certain range of motion before that drum fill comes in, then like just fully release for that ending section. Very it's just a really strong way to kind of open our sets, and it was so strong that we decided to open our sets with it before it even came out.
That's true.
On our tour in June. Yeah, we were like, let's road test this shit, and it was a success. Yeah.
That's always a fun thing to do too on tour, is just kind of throw a song out there, see kind of what the vibe is like before you release it. And I don't know, it's just kind of a cool little egg for people that get to come out and see you, and everybody else has to wait. That's always a fun thing to do too. Very cool. Prince, do you have anything to add as far as Wake the Fuck Up goes?
Yes. This is a fun little story. I was at band practice with another band I'm in, and Sky sent me this voice memo. It was like basically like the backing track for Wake the Fuck Up. And it was just like, it was the verse part with some guitars and like some electronic drums. And he's like, dude, I really need like slap bass for this part. And I was like in the middle of practice, and I was like, all right, hold up, y'all. I need to record this little thing real quick. So I just listened to it for like literally 1 minute. I listened probably back. The clip is only like, those verses are like 30 seconds or something. I listened for it like 1 minute, and I was like, oh, dude, yo, Miles, take my phone, record me playing this. And I just recorded the bass part and sent it back to Sky, and he's like, yo, sick. And I was like, all right, cool, this is a cool song. And then like a couple hours later, he sent me back the track with him like playing the bass part in the verse, and I was like, dude, this is like amazing. This what the like I was literally blown away at the speed of which this dude put all this together, and I was like, oh my God, it's like forming in my eyes like Lego Star Wars. Like, I was like, oh. But yeah, that's my funny little story. The bass line in the verse is probably one of my favorite Cheem licks I've thrown out there, and
wild.
Just came like right off the bat, and I was like, dang. But yeah,
sounds like a Sonic level.
It does. It's like Chemical Plant Zone.
Every time I hear it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a highlight of the release, and yeah, it is like, it is a highlight, I think, from as far as like the bass grooves and licks you've written for the music, which is saying a lot, because you've got some intricate bass parts on some of these songs. I'm like a hack bass player. I've played like in punk bands with a pick. You know what I mean? But when I heard that, I was like, God damn it! This makes me like want to actually pick up the bass and like attempt to learn how to play it for real for a change.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, definitely sick. Well, thanks for breaking that one down. Let's move on to the next track, the title track, Faster Fashion. I think, again, I've only been listening through this for like a couple of days now, but I think after several re-listens, this is my favorite one. I can't really put a like a pin on why it is, but every single time I've listened through it, I've thought this is kind of like my like go-to one I would throw on if I had to pick one song from the whole record.
That's great. That's underrated. That's an underrated pick. You're fucking real for that.
Yeah, the new metal hit, honestly.
Yeah. Hey, I like it. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I write for the New Metal Agenda. I work with them, actually. That's actually how I found out about you all, is I was told I had to write, I think it was what was the first Charm Bracelet. I was told I had to like write up a piece for that, and I listened to this. They were like, "This is new pop," and I was like, "What the fuck is new pop? I don't even know what that is." And then I listened to it. I was like, "Oh, I get it," and now I'm really into it. So I don't know where I was going with that, but that's kind of where I found out about your guys' band is from the New Metal Agenda. And again, my brain's all over the place. Don't know where I was going with that, but Faster Fashion, great song. Like I said, probably my favorite one on the EP. Might be my favorite song of your guys' of all time. I'd have to re-listen through all the songs all over again and actually like figure that out and not have a squirrel brain. But we'll start off again with Sky. Since you said you kind of kick off a lot of the songs. What was the inspiration for this song? If there's anything lyrically you want to get to, or just in general, like any details or tidbits you want to give about Faster Fashion?
Yeah, I mean, this was one, like I said, it was originally written for a compilation, so it was kind of like a chance for me to be like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of times I write songs with an expectation that like they're going to be played live and they need to have like this like good hook and like be popular. I don't know, you know what I mean? It's a songwriter thing. But for this one, I was just thinking it's going to get thrown on a compilation and we're never going to play it. So I was like, all right, I'll just do whatever. And one thing I always liked doing, or one thing I always wanted to do for like a song is like have verses that were like really leaning into like the swing and the chorus is just like completely straight and just go back and forth between those two fills. And that was pretty much like the impetus for this. And then after that, it was just me fucking around on guitar until I found something cool. The chorus, to me, it probably doesn't sound like this to anybody else, but to me, it's like a little chani, like the way that the single notes and the little chord bends go back and forth. At least that was the inspiration for it. And then obviously there's very heavy like Jamaican music influence like dance hall in the grooves in the choruses, and the verses are just hip hop. And then it's as far as lyrics, it's just a song just being like, I don't know, like fuck every other musician in the world. Like I don't know, fuck like pretentious like indie people who are like only like people who like it feels like critics in the industry will like suck their dicks until like 2 years later when they get canceled and everybody's like, I never liked them anyway. And it's just like fuck everybody involved in that situation. You know what I mean? Nobody's a winner there.
Yeah, no, I think it's always I think having hater songs is underrated. People gotta hate and be petty a little more often sometimes. It's not all about the toxic positivity. Sometimes you gotta hate a little bit.
Somewhere. Yeah, you know what I mean? Don't do it in real life, but like write a song about it.
Yeah. Don't go on Twitter and scream at people, but like make a song about it. That's the way. I think you even have a line in there about that exact thing. Of people just like sending tweets and being dicks or whatever, and it's like maybe that was a different song, but like I think that's like right on the money for something that is super relatable and universal, whether you're in a band or just like someone that interacts with people about music on like a more, I don't know, like on a more like content level, discourse or whatever the case may be. Again, Sean, I'll go to you next just to kind of keep a routine here. Is there anything else you'd like to add about the song Faster Fashion?
Yeah, I do love like the energy and the attitude of the song a lot. Like I remember when Sam just like I think I was at work and Sam texted me with like the demo of the song was like Sky was gonna throw this track away, but I think it's the best song we've ever written. And I was like, whoa, like classic Sam being like super over dramatic, and I can say that because he isn't here. But I listened to it and immediately I was like, oh damn, Sky's going hater mode. Like like I just love when like Sky goes aggro with his rapping, and it really matched like the tone of the riffs, and I like how insistent the song is on just like repeating that one groove for most of it. And as a drummer, that allowed me to like really, really lock in with it. But I will say again, a result of me only having like maybe a few weeks to like work on the song. Like now when I perform it, I think we've only performed it live once. But when I perform it, at least when I'm practicing it, I play the chorus like a completely different way, in terms of like the sticking and how I approach it. So, maybe if I had like more time to sit with it, that would have shown itself. But regardless, like sometimes having that time limit like lends itself to creativity and lends itself to a different vibe of the song that maybe wouldn't have shown up if that limit wasn't imposed on you. So yeah, I guess that like once again dovetails with the whole faster fashion thing, you know? We're pumping it out.
Well, and again, like you said, like I think it's always a double-edged sword. You could always like kind of go at it like one way or the other when you have to kind of not rush, but like put something together quickly for a song.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can mean that you're only giving it what it needs, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't necessarily like try to overthink it, but you also, like you said, you could be missing something that you'd want to add, you know, if you had more time or whatever. But like there's, you know, I think you did exactly what the song calls for, and you added the kind of between you and Prince, obviously, kind of that rhythm section really adds what am I looking for? Like the
keeps the song grounded.
Keeps the song grounded. Yeah, that's that's totally what I was gonna say. You totally didn't come up with a way better thing to say than I was gonna say. Prince, going to you next. Can you tell me just anything you would want to add about the song Faster Fashion? Anything anything other than what Sky and Sean have maybe already alluded to?
Yeah, honestly, just riffing off what you guys were just saying. When I was approaching that song, I was just giving it what it needed. I think I heard Sky playing the riff on Gabe's drop tuner pedal at practice one day, and I was like, "Yo, what's that?" He's like, "Yeah, this really sick like riff." And I was like, "I was giving like a little 311."
Big time.
Yeah, big time. But so I was just playing it with him in the basement there, and basically came up with a part pretty easily. But like being able to cross reference it with the demo that Sky sent, it's basically like same thing, but C sharp minor, blah, 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 yeah, all that. Vibing on that verse is just grooving. That's pretty much the only thing that was really important. Like notes or whatever, and wasn't really running across my mind or anything. And I really respect a song that can vibe that hard, and it's pretty easy to play, but it's also pretty easy to like get out of a groove. You have to definitely lock in, especially live. Like Sean said, we played it like once or maybe it was twice with. I think maybe it was once without a backing track and then once with a backing track or something like that.
Yeah.
But when we played it, the most recent time we played it, it felt really good live, and um, I think there was like a little clip of it and like the energy like Sky is given with like just those strong verse parts. It's one of my favorites to play right now. And considering all the other songs we have that are so much more technical and stuff, um, I think it's pretty relieving to have a favorite song that's easier to play, But
yeah, get to hopefully if you get to play it live more often, you get to actually like have fun and relax a little bit and not think about hitting the so at times with the licks you do absurd amount of notes and like rhythmic percussion that you do. It's probably nice to like sit back and just enjoy the live show for a second, right? It's always a good thing to be able to do
alongside with Sky and do all the ad libs.
yeah, absolutely. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for going over that one again. Like I said, it's personally probably my favorite song on the EP. I'll say that, and then like a day later, I'll check it out again, and something else will stick out to me. But fantastic song. Thanks for breaking it down. Let's just keep running through here. Third song, Slushy. Sky, start off with you again.
This is just
inspirations here, songwriting process, all the good stuff.
Really, really hard like dancehall influence. Like just like how can I take that like kind of like beat and just like make it as heavy as possible, but still like very melodic and do like a really good hook. And this is a hook where Sam wrote the melody and then I fashioned some lyrics into it. And I think it's such a simple but like a really brilliant hook because it's like a couple notes, it's like 2 or 3 notes that he sings, but like it rhythmically sits so nicely over the groove. And the way the groove kind of turns around in like the second chorus and then goes back to like the dancehall feel, like is one of those things where it's like it's kind of a no-brainer when you're writing it, but then you look back on it in hindsight and you're like, that's fucking fun. You know what I mean? This one is really one of the more straightforward tracks on the EP. Like it was not that intensive of like a production process. It was more like let the song write itself. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And before we move on to the other guys, lyrically, was there anything specifically with this one? Was it just kind of come whatever may with the song? Was there anything that kind of you really kind of pointed to with the lyrical inspiration here?
I think it's sort of like I think everybody's been in a situation where like there's a person that you're close with, and like you're hanging out with people that they're close with, and you realize like this is like not like the type of scene I want to be in. Like this is, I feel like I'm becoming a worse person like being around these people all the fucking time. And this, then the song kind of takes sort of an escapist fantasy of like just getting in a car and just fucking driving away from that, like to like across state lines, just be across the country from this and like leave it behind forever. And that is kind of the solution for a lot of people I've known who've been in that sort of situation to a much more extreme degree, where like it might be like a substance abuse thing where it's like you got to get the fuck away like from these like triggers or these like influences. So that's kind of what I was drawing off for the lyrics.
Very universal, regardless of like how, like you said, to what degree it's from, whether it's just being around people you realize are assholes or something far more serious than that. Very universal topic there for sure. I thought that's maybe what the song was about. I'm not always the best at following lyrics until I have them in front of me. I just am awful at like catching them through listens, but like that's kind of the vibe I got from it. So that makes a lot of sense. Sean, anything to add for this?
Similar themes to what I say for the other songs is that the learning process and recording process of it for me felt like a whirlwind. I do remember as part of learning it, playing it a completely different way when I had the initial demo. And then sometimes what I'll do is if I like really want to get into the nitty gritty of something that Sky mapped out, I'll ask him for a version of the song that kind of has the drums isolated. Um, and so I requested one of those for Slushy, and I realized the groove was being played in a completely different way than I had initially learned it. And then when I kind of adjusted the way I was playing it to the way that Sky had mapped it out, it made a lot more sense to me. And it ended up being this kind of linear groove, which I don't really get to do a whole lot in Cheem. And for those of you who don't play drums, the linear groove is when none of your limbs are kind of playing notes at the exact same time. So there's no like snare and hat lining up at the exact same time. So all the notes are kind of played in tandem with each other. And typically in Cheem, I'm playing something a little bit more straightforward, but kind of getting to color outside the lines with that one was really, really cool. So I'm excited to play it live. I don't even think we've played it together as a band yet.
Yeah, no.
But we're working on scheduling a practice right now. I'm sure that one will be first.
Yeah, well, I'll be excited to see what the kind of like live performance of this one is, because it seems like it'd be a great ripper live for sure.
Other than, I think this one is probably my favorite. I think I have two favorites, and this is number one favorite. Just that the bass line that Sky wrote and created is very good. It's just very fun to play. I'm kind of scared for practice though. I'm gonna have to practice a while for just on my lonesome before I get with the boys, because it's pretty tricky. But didn't have the song like too long. But yeah, definitely. I think we cooked with that one. That's all.
Yeah, I would agree. And you don't have to add a whole lot more than that sometimes, right? I guess like while we're on this topic a little bit before we move on to sort of the second half of the EP, I know you all, and I was going to do this at the end, but I referenced the New Metal Agenda before. I know you're going to be going on tour with Pulse's Nightlife and with Sales Ahead coming up. I think it starts in early December.
December 11th, Hamden, Connecticut,
December
baby.
11th. Okay. All right, perfect. So yeah, like early mid December. Are you planning on? I guess this is kind of a question in general with these songs and fast fashion having so many short tracks. Do you enjoy that? Just in a way of being able to, with your newer music, probably be able to play so much more of the songs you've released, like within a 30 to 45 minute set. And just like, I don't know, like I guess, do you anticipate you playing like most of this EP live in the shows, or is it going to be more of like an eclectic, what am I looking, track list, I guess, when you're on tour? Like kind of what does that look like for you guys? Do you still like to play some of the older songs, or are you really more into gearing up and playing like mostly your new material, I guess?
I mean, I think the old songs get a good response, so we like playing that for that reason.
There's a lot of songs that we used to play that are a little older, that we've kind of steered away from playing live, but we'll probably play a good amount of the EP, or at least like we'll probably try to figure out a lot of like how we're going to pull them off live. Sometimes we have to make small adjustments to like backing tracks. We just have to test them out and things like that. But it's always good to slam an older one that people obviously know. Like we're pretty consistent on playing like Snag, Clueless, but since this is a newer tour, we might switch up some things. Kind of just depends on the vibe and how we're feeling.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
it's never like we're gonna do this. It's like, okay, maybe we do this. Let's try this out. We kind of definitely suss it out.
We're very open to messing with the set list night by night, I will
Yeah.
say. And we have played all of Fast Fashion live like a bunch at this point. We played it all year long, I want to say. And Faster Fashion, we have not yet decided which songs we're going to be playing off the EP yet. I can't say if we're going to play the entire thing. I mean, obviously we're already playing WTFU and Faster Fashion live. But for the back half of the album, we have yet to play any of those songs. So who's to say? We have to see how they turn out in practice and see if we can translate them effectively. And sometimes something that Sky does is he will completely rearrange a song for the live setting. So we've done that for our much older songs, where maybe they on their recorded versions they don't quite reflect the Cheem of 2024, but
Right.
when Sky updates them, he like really reimagines them and kind of will add like a complete new like electronic layer to them and synths, and you know it'll just be an updated version of our older songs. We've done that in a few instances where we've rearranged things live, but I don't know if that's in the cards for Faster Fashion quite yet. We'll see.
All right, yeah. I mean, I think that's cool too. To the little tidbit you said there about Sky taking some of the older songs and adding things on top of them. I always think that's cool when people are willing to do that and not like be overly married to how a song is in studio form, and that like especially live, you can really do whatever the hell you want with it. I always loved when like bigger bands I would go see would like start off one of their big singles as an example, like acoustic, and then it would kick in or something like that, or vice versa, or completely change it up. I think that's always a fun thing to do to also keep some older music interesting for the band, which is like
Yes.
probably the most important thing, right?
Yes.
So cool. Thanks for indulging that with me for a second. Going on to the second half of the EP, we've got Unlimited. Again, I'll just go Sky, then Sean, then Prince. Just tell me details on this, songwriting wise, lyrics, all that good stuff.
Yeah, there's a genre of electronic dance music referred to sometimes as footwork. Sometimes people call it juke. It's usually referring to the type of dance people are doing during it. But it features like heavily syncopated and fast, like 808 drums, and like it'll have like some kind of like pad sample or string sample, and usually some looped like rap sample over it. That's like generally speaking like extremely vulgar and like kind of misogynistic. But that was the inspiration. It was just like how do we do a rock version of like a juke song? And so I just took that, like I just listened to a bunch of that music. I was like on that shit for like a couple weeks. And I was like, dude, I got to do something like this.
Yeah, I love the little like dance beat type vibe it's got, but still really giving a hell of a punch with those guitars and such.
I will say that Unlimited in tandem with the final track on the record, Instinct, I think explore kind of new moods for Cheem. Like I think that most of our fans associate our music with like very upbeat, energetic vibes, and I think that Unlimited and Instinct in particular are a little bit more brooding, and maybe a little bit darker, which I think is a really really neat contrast to Fast Fashion earlier this year. So I love the way Unlimited progresses. Especially on this EP as a whole, I've never been more okay with only playing drums on a song for like 30 to 40 seconds, which is the case for like 3 of the songs on the EP. But once again, it serves the song. Like it's a build up
Right.
to that part, and it makes that part at the end like more impactful. And then it leaves a challenge for me as a drummer to how can I make a statement given this small window of time? Like I have to be really choosy about my fills and how much I'm choosing to show off, etc. So yeah, hopefully that comes across in those songs on the back half of the EP where I'm only playing drums for like half of the song or a quarter of the song. No bad blood there though, promise.
It's a good time if you play any of those lives to go get some water or something like that too. Get hydrated.
Yeah, right. Take a breather.
Stretch,
but
get limber. All
You
that
gotta.
yeah, that's very important. But I am, I'm gonna be like doing a pass on these songs where it's like, what can I add to it live?
Right,
Because I'm
of
big
course.
on that.
You gotta get some auxiliary cymbals, some like sprinkly cymbals and stuff.
I wasn't planning on spending money, but I could. Yeah. Always
or
more
just
symbols.
borrow it from Guitar Center. No, but
Heisty, do you hear me? Endorse me already. Come on.
Yeah, these are small cymbals. These are pocket sized.
Going from that, and again, thanks for going over that. The next song is Kinetic Energy. With this one, again, really love the energy from it. I think it's one that would like deliver really well live. Personally, like that's kind of like the vibe I got from it a little bit. From again, let's start with Prince and then Sean. Just go ahead and tell me what your thoughts are on this song, and we'll go from there.
I'm really excited to start working on this one because I've got a couple cool little pedals that can make my bass sound like sub bass or like a heavy synth and saw waves and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to experiment the front half of that song since there's basically no bass at all and it's just that like those 808s, type dance hall type sounds. I don't know how exactly it's gonna sound and translate live, but I'm always really confident that the boys and I, can deliver something that is Cheem, even if it's not like one to the recording or something like that. It's like it's all we're gonna make something authentic, and I'm really excited to figure out those things at practice that we still need to book. We need to schedule that. Yeah.
After this.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, and yeah, I mean, I love. Again, I know I've said this already with one of the other songs we talked about, but I love that you all have that kind of idea of really kind of translating and adding your own bits to a live version of a song where in the recorded version maybe sonically it didn't require bass in a certain part or drums in a certain part, but that doesn't mean live that you're not going to go for it and throw in some pedals and do some cool atmosphere and whatever the case may be to kind of do your part to change it up a little bit and add a little extra flair to the live show. That's really cool.
First and foremost, I will say in Sam's absence that the music video that he conceptualized and created for this song, I think, is my favorite Cheem music video out of all the ones we've done. And I'm like very, very proud of him for kind of seeing that project through. It's kind of like a new passion that he's found, and now he's like entertaining offers from like other musicians kind of in our network to do music videos for them, and he started like a whole production company around it with our roommates. So it's kind of cool to see that both the Kinetic Energy music video and the WTFU music video kind of launched that passion for Sam. And I'm sure he'd be talking all about it if he was here right now. But in regards to the song, yeah, another song where I only play drums for like 40 seconds.
Right.
I had been working on this one in preparation for the music video, and for the first 3/4 of the song where it's that club beat, I kind of have like a live arrangement going that requires, like, weirdly enough, a lot of limb independence. Like all four of my limbs are doing different things to kind of replicate the electronic drums that are going on, and that has kind of just been the theme of the last, I don't know, 6 years of my time in Cheem. I've been in Cheem for almost 10 years now. Yeah, we've been a band for a while, working on this vision that we got. But the past 6 years have been me like learning how to replicate programmed drums and electronic drums for a live setting, and taking my background as a heavier drummer and kind of introducing like a more hip hop and funk element and electronic element to it. And that is definitely a theme with the newer music that's coming out and how I translate it to the live setting. Yeah, especially on Kinetic Energy, I will say it's most prominent there.
I was gonna say, Sean. Also, you impart some humanity on the electronic parts as well, which is important. You know what I mean? Like you're taking a program part and going, how do I make this like groove and like breathe a little more? You know what I mean? Kinetic Energy. Just look up Milwaukee Clap Beat. That's what it is. It's a song about fucking. And then Instinct. That was like, I did that little drum loop in my basement. I think. Am I frozen again? Or no.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. I did that little drum loop in my basement, and then I just like was like, dude, this is cool, man. Like I had to sit in my voice memos for a little bit, and I was like, I should make a song out of this. And that song, just like I literally wrote it from like start to end. Like it wasn't like I planned part of it out of order. Like I just started. I put the drum loop in, I started producing, and I kept building it up. And I'm like, all right, now we'll just do a big ass ending, and that's how that happened. And that song is just about like when there's somebody in your life who like really needs help that like you can't provide. Like you are not equipped to deal with the problem they have, and you wish you could, but all you can kind of really be is like sort of a shoulder to cry on, or just like kind of be emotional support. And you wish you could like fix the thing that's going on with them, whether it's like, no matter what it is. And you feel powerless. You feel like you're fucking like, it's like when you're in a dream, you can't like walk right. You know what I mean? You're just like, I don't know how to do any of this.
I think that's a tough concept for a lot of people to get under, is the idea of when someone is struggling with something, or you have a friend, whether it's emotional or financial or, you know, whatever the case may be, relationship, whatever, that like you're not always there. The point is not to solve their problems for them, it's to be there for them. I think that's like a tough reality for like a lot of people to figure out. I know I struggle with that all the time. Yeah.
It's tough to watch that and not be able to do anything, but you just gotta let them fucking work that shit out.
Yep, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And again, it seems like every single one of these songs, which I felt the same way with Fast Fashion lyrically, you know, a lot of the songs can feel very fun, but you've got very like well thought out like lyrical concepts for them that are also can be like very universal, you know, like it like each one of these things you've laid out, whether it's, you know, tangentially something that is universal, even though you were talking about a specific topic, or in this case, just like a overarching emotional, you know, dilemma somebody can have, like who hasn't had that in their life. Like that's a really cool thing to attribute to music like this, where you know, in this sort of like post-hardcore new metal, you know, whatever sort of scene exists now in 2024, a lot of the music that can be about those topics can be really brooding, as I think it was Sean mentioned to it, you know, the two of these songs, I think you said Instinct and
Unlimited
and Unlimited are both sort of like the more brooding or you know, darker aspects of Cheem, you know, and while that's true, like they still have sort of that bounciness that you guys are really known for, but you can still kind of, that doesn't pigeonhole you for like lyrical concepts or song concepts or the emotions you're trying to deliver to people. So that's cool that you're able to do that lyrically overall, like in the music. That's a good feat and a good indicator of a good songwriter, I think. So kudos to you on that.
Thank you.
So since we got into Instinct, because we want to make sure we got Sky's takes on it before he, you know, unfortunately, you know, hopefully not, but unfortunately might jump off here randomly. Sean, can you give us your thoughts on Instinct to kind of wrap up the album?
Instinct is my favorite track on the EP, I will say. I just like love the vibe that it brings. I think it closes on a really, really unique note. I think that the way that the song begins is like just an all-time cool Cheem moment. And I like love the kind of like the tonal shift in like the middle of the song, like when Sky's rap part comes in, like that is like a really neat switch up to me. And then the groove that I get to play on the end, I don't even think was originally planned to go on it, but then I kind of insisted like, oh, like I sat down and like wrote this kind of part for it to like match the MIDI drums that were going on. I'm like, yeah, we put it to tape, as they say. I'm interested to see how that one turns out live. I have no idea how we're gonna do that one, but I hope that we get to, because that vibe wise, that's my favorite from the EP, with WTFU being a close second. I like Instinct a lot.
Trying to figure it out for live is, you know, future Cheem's problem. You know, you got weeks and stuff. You know, you don't have to worry about that.
Fuck that. Fuck those guys.
Yeah. Prince, to kind of end things out here with going through the EP, track by track. Anything else you'd like to go over?
I just love this song as a final song for the EP. Like Sean just said, it does end on like an interesting note. I think it's like a happy, sad question mark. And it just like alludes to, I feel like it's alluding to like more, you know? Like whenever I finish that song, I'm like, wow, it's a good song, but like, what's next? You know? I feel like more people were gonna expect that, you know, and we're cooking. So like, hey, maybe we'll have some dinner later, but I really love how the song ends. Yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I definitely agree with Prince there, where it's like, yeah, if people kind of listen to the body of work that we put out this year between the two EPs and they end with Instinct, they're gonna be like, oh, like what's Cheem gonna do next? And being privy to that, like y'all just ain't ready. Like the stuff that we're cooking right now is just like truly on another level. Like it's a big step up. So I hope people get a sense that after listening to Instinct that there's like way more on the horizon in store.
Absolutely. Yeah, this one again, like I said, Faster Fashion is probably my favorite on it, and it kind of goes to a little bit of what Sky said of probably the reason why it, and it's the same thing for Instinct for me, where oftentimes I say on this podcast, 9 times out of 10, the last track on an EP or an album is my favorite because it tends to be where the band goes, fuck it, what can we do here, right? Like it's it's usually like the sort of like in a good way, like self-indulgent song that you're like, what can I do to make this cool? I don't care like how how different it is or how it ends or whatever the case may be. It can kind of be like where a lot of people see like their, maybe it wouldn't be like the single, but like one that they're maybe the most proud of or the one they enjoy the most. Probably some reason why I actually like Faster Fashion the most is like you said, Sky, you're like, I'm just going to kind of throw this together and do what I want with it because I don't imagine it being on an album. And then here it is on an album and it makes it sort of like it's great. It's got this great unique character to it. I think there's a similar thing with Instinct, especially like you said with that groove at the end that kind of leaves it on this cool, on this cool note. Like I exactly as you said, Sean and Prince, like what's going to come next, and I think that's a cool way to leave off things for people when like mid-November as like, slower, like even like on the marketing aspect of or bands overall, there's like less music that comes out between like mid-November and the holidays and all this kind of stuff. And your music for fans of your kind of music will really be left there like in a good way, wanting more and wondering what's next. And as you said, I guess we'll have to wait and see what comes with that, but it leaves a lot of cool anticipation. And it's a really cool way to kind of wrap up the year for you all release wise. Plug where people can find your band, anything else you want to say about the EP to close up, and then pick a song between the three of you to play at the end of the episode.
Cool. Y'all can do the plug because I'm probably out of sync with y'all. I don't want to talk over anybody. My vote is for Instinct because we just said that shit. Like we were kind of gassing it up, and it does end on like an ellipsis. I like that.
My vote is definitely for Instinct, I will say. And yeah, if you are new to Cheem, welcome to our worlds. If you are curious about everything we're talking about and it sounds like it doesn't work, go try and listen to us and you will find that maybe it does work. And if you enjoy it, then you have a whole world to discover at your fingertips of Cheem. And we have an EP that came out earlier this year called Fast Fashion, and the sequel to that EP comes out November 15th. It's called Faster Fashion. There's a couple music videos and singles out from it already, which you can find everywhere. And if you're really Cheem-pilled, come see us on the Rockstar Energy Tour, starting December 11th in Connecticut. And then we're hitting New Jersey, Boston, Baltimore, and Richmond, Virginia. With Nightlife, Pulses, and What Sails Ahead. And we are so friggin' excited.
So we'll play, this will be Instinct, the last track off of the new EP, Faster Fashion, for anybody listening on the recorded end, out now. Sky, Prince, and Sean, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your night.
Don't think we react on instinct. Don't blink, open up, you can see the whole thing. Feel the same way, nothing's gonna change. Feel the same way, nothing's gonna change.
So caught up in all those doubts, I know you just wanna second guessing every step you take. Impulse inside you get brave.
times when you put your true self on the line. Now it's split the earth over my knee. If it meant that everyone who made you feel like dirt will fall in, I could blast for you with platitudes and call it a solution, but the truth is it's stupid to assume it could work in execution. It's cute and quirky until it turns disturbing. It worries me when you tell me you don't feel like a real person.
So when you scream and shout, I need to know how it sounds. Had a dream I could have rescued you, but I couldn't get me to move. I would try to anywhere, take anything you could have been. I wish that we believed in prayer. You gotta lie. And when you cry,
Feel the same way.
you better
Nothing's gonna change.
and when you cry,
Feel the same way. Nothing's gonna change. Negative feedback from all sides at all times. Negative feedback from all sides at all times when you put your true self on the line.